Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining us in the world today. Thank you for attending the live presentation of Do More with Your FM Career. This is going to be about IFMA's credentials and training, as well as we have a special guest with us. Heba Kamal is on the call. She is going to give us some insight and trends into the Middle East and North Africa region for our facility management, some trends that she's seeing as it pertains to credentials and training in the region. So thank you for joining us, Heba.
Thank you, Lauren.
And there we go. My name is Lauren Krueger. I'm the Director of Sales Operations for IFMA. I've been with IFMA for 10 years. I believe my 10th year will actually be next summer, so 9 years officially. I started out in the membership department with IFMA, and I have continued to grow, and I am now in the professional development department with IFMA. And Heba Kamal, that you see on the screen, is the country manager for Tabreed Egypt, and she is also an IFMA FMP instructor. So just real quickly, I wanted to discuss who IFMA is for those who are not familiar or maybe were just introduced to IFMA. IFMA is the International Facility Management Association. We have been around for over 40 years. We have local chapters in over 100 countries, 139 chapters total, and over 22,000 members. IFMA's vision is to lead the future of the built environment to make the world a better place. And our mission is to advance our collective knowledge, value, and growth for facility management professionals to perform at the highest levels. And we do that through networking with local facility management professionals, whether that would be through a local chapter that you may be a member of or our online communities. We're a tremendous resource for research, current trends, training. IFMA is the leading FM or organization for facility management in the industry. Again, we've been around for over 40 years, so we are the leading organization. And just to start us off before we talk with Heba, what does it take to be a successful facility manager? There are certain FM skills that you have to have, and many items go into achieving those skills to be successful. You do need a passion for learning and staying up to date on industry trends. And we're going to talk a little bit about why lifelong learning is so important in the next slide. You do need a solid foundation in the fundamentals of facility management. You need a determination to make an impact on your organization and confidence in your expertise verified by training and credentialing that you receive from professional organizations such as IFMA or universities and colleges or other training organizations out there. So, why does lifelong learning matter? Lifelong learning is important because to continue to add value to the built environment, FMs, you have to stay abreast of changes in society, business, and the industry, and engage in thought leadership surrounding environmental sustainability, digital transformation, and work and workforce change. The built environment, as you know, encompasses many professional disciplines such as finance. They develop, plan, design, build, operate, maintain, recycle, all of the components of the built environment. And facility management is one of these disciplines and is one of the few that works closely with other professions like real estate brokers, architects, interior designers, contractors, engineers, urban planners, the list goes on and on. So strengthening facility managers' multidisciplinarity is vital to the industry's future, and it's vital to your future as well. So I am going to introduce Heba Kamal to you. Heba is an FMP. She works for Tabreed Egypt. She is a country manager. She is achievement focused, a high performer with a professional background in techno-managerial aspects. She has more than 24 years of experience and expertise in multidisciplinary maintenance of large facility and project management. So Heba, I'm going to hand the slide over to you if you want to continue to introduce yourself, and then we were going to jump into the interview portion of this webinar.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks for having this webinar together. And hello, everyone. As Lauren mentioned now, I have been in the field of project management and facility management for more than 24 years actually now. And I've been executing facility management in a specific for more than 15 years. In the beginning, it was project management. Then the facility management became the trend in Gulf, where I used to live there for quite some time. Then moving back to Egypt, where the trend of FMO has been exposed and introduced. So I take facility management, as I always say to my students and to my colleagues, that I take it as a passion. I have a passion towards it's not just a provision, it's not just a job which I do. I'm very happy to be with you today and to share the ideas together.
Great. All right, so let me pull up my questions that I have for you today. And for those of you who are just logging in, I see that someone has commented that they are joining us from Dubai. Thank you. Welcome. If you want to quickly drop a chat in the LinkedIn event about where you are joining us from, we'd love to see where you are joining. And as a reminder, this presentation is live on LinkedIn. It is being recorded as well. You will be able to rewatch this on IFMA's LinkedIn page later. IFMA also catalogs all of our recordings on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to watch this on YouTube, IFMA's YouTube channel as well. And if you're interested to see what other webinars we've done about our credentialing and training, you can look through the other webinars as well. We do have another webinar happening today. It's kind of in the Americas time zone. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Central Time. So if you have a boss or a supervisor that you'd like to see this similar presentation, you can attend then as well. They are going to be interviewing a couple other instructors in the Americas to get some insight as well. So good morning from Ghana, Riyadh, Dubai. And Heba, do you want to say where you are joining us from?
Cairo. I'm joining from Cairo, Egypt.
And I am joining you all from Stavanger, Norway. So I actually moved to Norway 18 months ago with my family. So we are truly international audience here. Hello from Kenya. All right. So Heba, can you talk a little bit about how long you've been an instructor for IFMA and why you chose to become an instructor for IFMA?
I started the journey with IFMA actually back in 2016, where I was the first female FMP holder in Egypt, if I may say. There was previous FMPs, but actually I was the first female. So during the course, I feel that I had this passion of transferring knowledge. Actually, the course for me was more than knowledge transfer. So I like the idea of transferring the knowledge, transferring the experience which I had. And during the course itself, I took the decision that I want to be FMP instructor, and I started that journey as well, being an instructor. And it landed in 2019, where I got my FMP instructor license, where I started delivering FMP courses in Egypt.
Do you know how many courses or students you've taught in the past few years?
Yeah, I can recall. I think we are about to cross the 70, 80.
All right, great.
Yeah. We have another course running by the end of this month. Yeah.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about facility management in the Middle East, North Africa? What are some current trends that you're seeing?
FM in the Middle East till a few years back was only limited to operation and maintenance, used to be part of the organization administration departments, as most of us know. And But nowadays, I start seeing complete FM departments, either in demand organizations or a service provider providing facility management. I start seeing people looking into asset management as well as part of their FM departments, budgeting and finance as well. It becomes the source of information for any organization while they are planning their capex for the year, while they're planning their business plans and budgets and investments as well. It plays a major role for the cost optimization. Sustainability initiatives as well become a major and requirement now. It's not just a request or not just an initiative. It become a mandatory now for most of the companies and most of the industries. I think across Gulf and across MENA region, if I can may say.
Yes. And I know IFMA recently published a white paper on trends that are changing and shaping facility management and for the future. And some of those items are sustainability, exactly like you mentioned, digitization, workforce change. Everything has flip-flopped because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Have you seen any of that affect the Middle East and North Africa? And what are some trends you're seeing with those?
I see that the COVID, it didn't affect facility management. Actually, I saw that it was the area where we had time to look into our assets more. Yes, the buildings was quite, but here in the Middle East, it's still different than Europe and America because we didn't shut down completely like others. But it gave us time to relook into our ways of providing the services. It also I don't want to say affected badly, but it had many of the companies look into cost optimization because now everybody's thinking about cost effectiveness, cost optimization, sustainability, other way of thinking than the traditional FM which used to be done. And as everybody knows, Egypt is hosting the COP27 in coming November, inshallah, which we assume that there will be hope. I don't say assume that a lot of decisions will be taken about climate change and about sustainability. The following year, it will be hosted in Dubai as well. So again, we are talking about Middle East. So there will be major changes when it comes to sustainability in Middle East and MENA.
So, and like I mentioned, earlier in this presentation, the facility management touches so many different industries and departments of the built environment. And so staying abreast of these changes, attending training, lifelong learning, gaining additional skills. Are you seeing that there are enough trained and skilled professionals in the region to meet the growing demand of facility management?
In Gulf, FM was introduced a bit earlier than Egypt and Middle East or North Africa, if I can say. And standardizing FM was a bit mature in the Gulf region. North Africa, despite the growth happened in the number of skilled professionals in the past few years, but still I see it because our number of population is much more higher than Gulf. So not yet the enough amount number of skilled professionals are there. So we are calling always out to the people to get the standards, to get the trainings needs, the skills needed to have many more skills professionals in Egypt in specific and in North Africa.
Great. And is there a way for professional facility managers or those looking to get into facility management to stand out from others in the field?
I always say that facility manager who's well trained, certified as well in FM can support the FM provision by guiding new FMs for continuous learning, development of their knowledge and skills, and help organization also standardizing FM through proper processes in their day-to-day operations, also allocating the budgets for FM credentials, which is become now I start seeing companies now putting in their budget obtaining credential for certain stuff to help the others colleagues in the organization or in the department to get more standardizing the FM knowledge because you will hear people saying we have been doing it for the past 10 years, for the past 15 years, but are you doing it in the right way? Are you doing it in the standard professional way? If yes, happy for you. If not, then you need to learn the right way to do it. And then you can transfer that to your colleagues.
That's a very important point that you make. And it's great to hear that you're seeing organizations have a budget to develop their employees, to upskill them so that they are learning more, creating more efficiencies, not only for themselves and their department and job, but it affects the entire organization as well. Are you seeing facility management credentials becoming a requirement for job postings in the Middle East?
Recently, yes. In my old age, yeah, and yeah, as I say myself, that we used to see that whenever a post of project management is opening, there is a specific credential which must be obtained to be able to uh, provide project management. Now I start seeing posting have FMP as a condition to be able to apply for FM position, which is actually a good sign that the FMP itself start to be introduced in Egypt and in Gulf. In Gulf, it started much more earlier years. I used to see it a lot there. But in Egypt also, it's a good trend that I start seeing it become a requirement to be a facility manager or even to apply for a post of facility manager.
Great. And there are other facility management credentials organizations out there. Why do you support facility management training from IFMA and the FMP credential?
I don't want to say I like always in my life the American way of teaching. I feel it teaches in a more objective way. It is not just the theories, it is not just methodologies, it is not just stating what is in the book or what is the standardizations across the globe, but it teaches you objectively. It teaches you through examples, it teaches you through mutual communication, the continuous interaction between IFMA members and fellows as well with us, and the exceptional since IFMA strive for excellence and growth through innovation, leadership, and sharing knowledge. That was an initiative for me to continue with IFMA in specific for the FMP than for the FMP instructor, and I think there is a lot more courses to come. FM learning objectives and test questions are a result of best practice as well shared by facility managers worldwide. What you learn is ideal scenario of how FM should respond to situation in any industry in any country worldwide. And this is the beauty of IFMA and FMP as well.
Yes, and I definitely want to expand on that a little bit because, there are other organizations that provide credentialing for FM that might be specific to your country or to the Middle East or North African region, but those may be specific to your country, whereas it's not approaching it from that global standard. So IFMA's credentials, for those who are not as familiar on the call, they are designed from a job task analysis that IFMA conducts. There is a certain level of feedback that IFMA must acquire from practicing facility professionals worldwide. So the way that these courses were designed and the questions are designed is to approach facility management from that global standard, so that it's not going to get specific into how you conduct facility management, say in your organization, specifically in Egypt, but it's going to teach you in an ideal world, this is how to approach facility management so that you can take that knowledge to any industry within facility management in any organization worldwide.
And the flexibility of IFMA as well during the classrooms, which this I saw it myself because if I'm delivering a classroom in Gulf, I start relating some experience I had in the Gulf throughout the classrooms. So I answer any questions they may relate. So we keep the international standards and we have the international standards as per FMP, but also we share some experiences and correct some information they might have, which relates to the country itself. But the same thing, I
Yes.
do it in Egypt as well. So mixing the classroom as well with the credential of FFMP gives you the full entire picture of even customizing it to your country.
Yes, that's an excellent point, and thank you for bringing that up. So for those that are in South Africa or Kenya, if you are attending a classroom course, you get that experience and those case studies from that local instructor teaching that course, so that they can apply some of that regional knowledge to those global standards of facility management within the FMP. That's an excellent point, Heba. What are key things that you've learned from teaching the FMP credential program?
The most key thing I learned that learning doesn't stop. Every day is a new day with new technologies, with new techniques. As I said, FMP Classroom course is a great opportunity for everyone to share his experience and innovate new ideas, which is also beneficial to the attendees and to myself as well. I learn from my students, as I always say. Someone did something for the first time and actually it was innovative. He started telling us the story. I start learning myself from him. So I learned that you should never stop learning. Learning cannot stop at age or at seniority level.
Absolutely, yes. And that is kind of the theme of what we've been talking about on this webinar is why lifelong learning is so important. Is FM is constantly changing. I mean, it's completely changed within the last couple of years due to the pandemic. There's new technology. Buildings are more interconnected than ever with the Internet of Things. So staying aware of these trends, gaining some additional training within these new competencies is a way to make sure that you are becoming the most successful facility manager that you can be for your organization. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, how can you talk a little bit about how the FMP addresses, well, you know what? Maybe the first question is, what is the FMP? We keep talking about the FMP, and for those of you that are not familiar, the FMP is the facility management professional, and that is one of the credentials that IFMA offers. The FMP is going to give you that solid foundation in the fundamentals of facility management. So you heard me mention that in the presentation previously. So the FMP is going to cover four competencies, and these are essential for any successful facility manager. So that's going to be project management, operations and maintenance, leadership and strategy, and finance and business. So we like to say that typically individuals should have at least a year of experience within facility management before pursuing the FMP credential. And this is going to help train you in those foundational competencies. So these are what were deemed critical for any job position and employer based on IFMA's job task analysis. So that is what the FMP is those four foundational competencies. So Heba, can you explain how that FMP credential and those foundational competencies address some of the skills gaps that you've mentioned that earlier in the presentation that you've noticed in the region?
Let me say that operation and maintenance, project management in specific, they were introduced through other courses, I might say, but not credentials. But it was introduced, so it was well known in the Middle East and the MENA region, as I say. The gap which I saw from the day one was finance, in specific finance and business. Not all facility managers are exposed to financial aspects in their organization, either it's demand organization or service provider even. It is always kept on a certain level of management who have exposure to finance and business. So the first course I did, actually all the questions was all about finance. Why we have finance, why we are teaching finance, we are not exposed, but I say you will be exposed. And when the years are passing, when I start seeing students now, maybe in the last course, I start seeing students saying, yes, we start having exposure to the finance. We start being involved in preparing the capex for the companies. We start being part of the budget preparation for the year. So then you need to know finance and business. Leadership concept also was not taken from the basics of strategy. It was just the concept of the leadership, which we all see on those common trends that just we are one hand, the leader is not a manager, and this kind of theoretical ideas, but it's more about strategy. You are building you are part of building an organization. Very soon you will become the leader of that organization or of that department. So you need to know the strategic way of thinking as well. Part of the same is the advocate for the FM, which we all are calling for. You need to stand for FM. It's not just your job which pay you your salary. It's a provision. It's a skill you need to pass. So those mainly was the two gaps which I saw in the students which I had and in the market overall. With the FMPM, we close these gaps because when he become an FMP, he have the full entire idea about the four pillars as I named them, and he supports also his team and he makes sure that he select the right resources and he help also, as I said, for advocating for the FM provision.
Yes, and what you mentioned about leadership and strategy is exactly right. Is you have to be an advocate for facility management, and the leadership and strategy course within the FMP will help you to advocate for and promote FM to the C-suite or to the senior executive level within your organization, so that you can make sure that you are getting FM a seat at the table, so that you are making those decisions up front and not having someone come back to you afterwards and say, well, we actually didn't think how this was going to work for you in facility management, so now you have to deal with the problem that we made. So by being an advocate for yourself and getting in front of those that leadership team to make sure that they are, you know, creating an operation or a project correctly from the beginning is so important. And that leadership and strategy module can help develop those skills.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had that question one time from a young FM engineer, and he said that it's like way long for me to become a manager. But I told him, you have technicians, you have supervisors. Yes, I have. How many? It was around 25. I said, you're a leader. You're already become a leader. You have to lead this group of stuff. And then you need to learn leader. It is not just for the executive management or for the board of directors. Leader can start from the very early ages of his life.
Absolutely. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Where do you find most people have trouble in the content of the FMP, or do you see any challenging areas?
Um, in continuation to what we was just saying now, it is finance and business,
Mhm.
specifically the finance part, not the business, because business was more about contracts and procurement. So there was a little exposure to the same, but the fundamental of accounting and finance itself, it's new to everybody. So that I find the people has a challenges in that. Challenges also to relate it to real life examples, because when we teach the R&M, they can relate it to something which they do every day, but the finance, they cannot relate it because they didn't see it. Like if we speak about NPV, IRR, investments, they are not exposed to the same. Even in the senior management, I was also surprised that they were not exposed to that level. It was more finance who takes that decision.
Mm. So, what would you suggest for maybe some of those individuals that can relate to what you're saying, and maybe they struggle or don't have any exposure to finance and business or even any of a leadership role within the organization? What is some advice you can give to them to help prepare them if they're looking at the FMP credential?
Um, During the classroom, it is not difficult because we always relate examples. We in the FMP itself, there's quite few examples which we can use. Also, we start creating this work groups. We make some real life example. I make them work on a pre-prepared example for them to work on the numbers, to start calculating by their hands so they can see what is this all about. I go and ask them to go and read more about a specific term which they don't know, to sit with their finance team and ask more, because they will be also knowing much more about the finance part in the operation or the organization itself. So it's not difficult, it's not hard to get. Actually, all of them, after they finish it, they found that it's not that much hard, but in the beginning it was new to their ears. So
Yeah.
the change
Yeah.
came.
Yes, and that's a great tip as well, is, to go sit with your finance team and ask questions, and that's an excellent way to get exposure, so that you can relate what you're learning to your organization and on the job training. And I think what you mentioned too is important, is, the FMP is everything you need to complete it is online. But if you want additional help talking with an instructor, learning, how their specific case studies and examples might apply to your local, country or region, that classroom course is going to be important for you to get that information. So absolutely great. How might you advise, let's see, students who want to know the rationale behind test questions? So for everyone that is on the call, the FMP has a final assessment at the end of each of those 4 competencies. So there's 4 final assessments total that you must pass in order to attain that FMP credential. And when you take that final assessment, we do not provide the answers. IFMA does not provide the answers to that test question. It is a knowledge-based credential. So IFMA is encouraging those to read through the material, to understand the concepts, and then it's testing your knowledge with that final assessment. So how would you advise students on for those that may want a rationale behind those test questions?
Honestly, you ask the same exact question I've been asked after each module test. Where are the correct answers? And I like the students who, when they ask this question, because it is not just for them, hey, I passed the exam and they just leave. They want really to know where was the points which they leak for. So I first let them know the rationale was directly or indirectly explained in their reading, and that time and experience may fill in the gap naturally. One technique also is to ask them to point to an area to the student guide they struggle with, and we can discuss it. This discussion can occur before or after they take their final assessments. I always encourage them to go through the pre-test, to go through the
Mm.
quizzes, because it will give them also naturally exposure to how the exam was built up. Don't just jump from the course to the final exam without passing through some questions, and get used to where are the areas where you lack skill or you lack to learn more. Um, as you
It,
said, also, yeah,
Oh,
tell me.
sorry, Heba, if I can interrupt real quick. I think that's a great point, that sometimes we see students bypass that part of the program. There is chapter quizzes and a pre-test within each one of those competency courses online. So that's a great opportunity for you to get an understanding, if you are understanding the concepts that you're learning within the modules. So practicing those chapter quiz test questions is what I'm trying to say, before attempting the final assessment, is a great way to know, are you grasping the concepts, are you understanding the topics before even going into the final assessment.
Yeah. And same also for the pre evaluation, which is before even the course. Yani, maybe this is the only thing which I start seeing people not doing, and I really encourage every time that at least you enter the course knowing what is the area which you need to stress more, how much your knowledge are, because some people think that I've been doing FM for the past 15 years, but he entered the evaluation, he find that he know nothing about standards. He knows the traditional way or the country wise way of doing it, but not the standards of FM.
Absolutely. And again, we see sometimes, like you say, students not wanting to do that pre-test. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned, understanding your base level of knowledge before beginning any training in that competency is going to help you understand what chapters you may want to focus more of your time on. So that's a great point and tip for students that are going through that FMP, is to test your base knowledge of the competency, so that you can really decide how to spend your time when you're looking through the other chapters within that module, and maybe you decide you have to spend more time on chapters 3 and 4, but with chapter 1 you're completely confident in your abilities. So that's a great tip for students, is do not bypass that pre-test within those modules. Good point.
And also embracing lifelong learning, as you mentioned, that it the exam is not the end of the road. Passing the exam is not the end of the road. It's just a snapshot of your knowledge, and you need to continue learning, to continue seeing. That's why IFMA is updating the course continuously, to give the updates always which is in the market to the students, not to stick to a version which might be outdated after a few years. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a good point you bring up too, Heba, is that IFMA, as I mentioned earlier, all of these trainings and credentialing programs are developed from our job task analysis, and we conduct that every 5 years. So that's a survey that we base all of our content updates to our programs on. So we just updated the FMP, the SFP content updates are being launched in October. So IFMA is constantly looking at making sure our content is the most relevant in the marketplace. Absolutely. If you want everyone to know one thing about IFMA training, what would you want them to know?
Um, IFMA is just the start. FMP is just the start, and IFMA training is the first point, or to shape your skills, to shape your career, and to reserve your place in the FM market worldwide, and be always updated with the latest trends and methods. It will open to them many new doors for continuous learning and career development. So they just need to take the first step into this world. Then it will not stop. It will continue naturally.
Great.
But they need to start learning.
Yes. What's the one piece of advice you would give FMs today or someone entering the FM field?
Don't stop learning. يعني I feel that learning is a continuous task we have to do. And there is a Greek philosopher, he said that change is the only constant in life. So you should not stop. You should always change. Don't be afraid of changing something. Learning itself is a change in our mindset and style. And FM world is changing very fast. And you must learn to cope up with these rapid changes happening around you. And be adapted to the change mentality, not to be afraid of the change.
That's excellent, excellent advice. Again, the theme kind of that has been circulating is that lifelong learning, and doing that through training courses, credentialing to help get the training that you need to upskill and continue forward in your career. So great, great advice, Heba.
Thank you.
That is going to conclude the interview portion of this webinar. You heard us mention a few of our credentialing and training programs, and I wanted to quickly address those with the rest of you on for our time today. Let me push forward. So you heard us mention FMP, the Facility Management Professional. Again, this is the globally recognized standards and best practices, and it's going to cover those 4 foundational competencies that we mentioned: project management, leadership and strategy, finance and business, and operations and maintenance. And you heard us mention that everything you need to complete that FMP program is online. The pre-test we mentioned, the chapter quizzes, the content, the digital books that you can read through, and then those final assessments that you must pass in order to attain the FMP credential is all online. We do have virtual courses, and you heard Heba mention classroom courses. Since she is an FMP instructor, she teaches many classroom courses for the FMP, and she does that in Egypt as well as around the other Middle East countries as well. So classroom courses are a great way to have the content taught to you by an instructor within the region that can provide those local examples, help you relate what you're learning to what you're doing specifically within your country and organization. And then this is a snapshot of IFMA's credentialing programs as well as training. You heard us mention the FMP is what we mostly focused on, but we do have a training program for beginners who are new to facility management or maybe are looking, they're in the technical field, if they're in HVAC maintenance or engineering, and they're looking to expand their knowledge within to facility management. This is an excellent training course to help you understand what are those concepts and topics, what are the daily tasks, the terminology within facility management that you should know. This training program is 10 modules and is going to help introduce you to what facility management is. Then we have IFMA's core competencies. So IFMA, from our job task analysis, has defined 11 core competencies that make up the facility management body of knowledge. Today, we focus mostly on the FMP, which is going to be made up of those foundational 4 competencies. And the remaining 7 are the other core competencies that you see listed here. And this is just courses to help you round out your entire facility management knowledge. So you're going to see courses for occupancy and human factors, technology, risk management, quality. So all of there, IFMA has a course for you specific to those competencies that you can take, and those are all online as well. The SFP is the Sustainability Facility Professional. You heard Heba mention this earlier in the presentation. Sustainability is a very hot trend right now. There are many policies about sustainable efficiencies and operations that are happening globally within Europe, within the Americas, within Asia Pac. So a ton of policies are driving organizational change and built environment change around sustainability and the environment. So the SFP is a credential that is going to dive deep into 3 focus areas within sustainability. We like to say that you should have a strong knowledge in the foundational competencies because it builds upon those foundational competencies. So again, operations and maintenance is going to play heavily into the SFP. So having that knowledge within the foundation is going to help you work through that SFP credential program. And then the CFM that you see up top, that is a certification, and that is for experienced professionals who meet the eligibility requirements to apply. So to apply for the CFM exam, you do have to have at least 5 years of experience within facility management. It is a competency-based exam, so you will have to go to a testing location. It's 180 questions, and it's a pass-fail exam, and it's a certification. So what that means is that it is certifying that you have mastered the 11 competencies of facility management. So that exam is going to test your knowledge on all 11 competencies that IFMA has defined as the body of knowledge. And Heba, as we've mentioned, she teaches FMP classroom courses for IFMA through approved education training affiliates. So IFMA works with organizations worldwide that brings the training to your country, to your local city. So like Heba is an instructor in Egypt. She works a lot in Cairo for FMP classroom courses, and she does that through approved education training affiliates. So why would you want to go through an approved training affiliate? It's because these organizations have been thoroughly vetted by IFMA to be able to conduct these training courses. So we work with them exclusively to provide IFMA's training. They're bringing you the online learning and the materials that were developed by IFMA. And all of these courses have to be taught by an IFMA qualified instructor like Heba that you see here. So we have thoroughly trained and vetted the instructors that teach these courses so that you know you are getting the same quality learning that you would get in your country as you would get in Singapore or in the United States. So it's very important to make sure if you are looking at a training course to prepare or to get the FMP or to prepare for the CFM exam, that you are going through an approved training provider of IFMA. If you are unsure, we do have a list on our website, and that URL is on the bottom of this page. Please verify that this organization is approved by IFMA to conduct these courses. And then, of course, IFMA is a membership organization. So not only do we provide support for you with training and upskilling, but we also have a local professional network that you can work with. So membership is a great way to network with experts, whether it be within a local chapter in your city or online through one of our online communities or councils. We do also have an online Engage forum. So it's a great way to ask questions of the entire membership base of IFMA. We also have a knowledge library. So not only do we have training courses for you, but we also have a knowledge library, which is online. It contains hundreds of research, articles, benchmarking reports, past webinars from our conferences. So it's a great resource for you to explore other concepts and topics that fall within the 11 competencies of facility management. And then we have group training support. So if you are in your organization and you're lucky that your organization supports training and professional development of their employees, we do provide discounts to groups of two or more. So if you have other colleagues or if you are a supervisor looking to train and upskill your facility management team, IFMA is there to help and support you to ensure that everyone goes through that training and achieves that credential. We also provide resources for best practices and study guides to help you complete those programs. And for those that hung with us till the very end, thank you. We do have a discount for you. If you are convinced the FMP is right for you and you're ready to rock and roll with that, we do have a discount code that you can use to take $100 off of the FMP bundle. That's fall into IFMA 100. You can insert that on the checkout to get $100 off the FMP bundle. So that's going to be all 4 courses that you need, the SFP, as well as that core competency bundle. That's going to bundle the rest of those competency courses for you together. And then if you are interested in the essentials or one of those competency courses, you can use the discount code fall into IFMA 50 to receive $50 off of those as well. This is good through the end of September, so you have a couple weeks to decide if you want to go ahead and purchase that credential or training program. Any questions that you have at all, IFMA is here to help support you. If you're still unsure on what might be the right training program or credentialing program for you, we are happy to talk to you. You can go to IFMA's website. This is the URL for our course catalog. And then IFMA also has regional hubs. So we have the EMEA website as well as offices in India and China. And then, as I mentioned, this presentation is recorded and you can access this as well as previous recordings from IFMA's YouTube channel as well as on our LinkedIn page. Thank you all for joining. Heba, do you have any last statements before we log off?
No, I want to thank everybody who joined us this morning, and I would like to see more and more FMPs coming around. I need to see also more and more FMP instructors having this passion towards also teaching the FM, so we can keep continuing the sharing of knowledge and lifelong experience of training and knowledge sharing. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Heba, thank you so much for your time today. We thoroughly have enjoyed having you on the presentation, and you've given some great insight, advice, and tips to everyone on the call. So I hope you all have learned and taken advantage of some of Heba's advice, and maybe she will see you at her next FMP classroom course.
Inshallah.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great day.